Best New Electric Cars 2023. Thinking about buying a new car in the next 12 months? Here's our guide to the models you might want to wait for. Volkswagen ID Aero. Having nibbled away at the electric small car and SUV markets, VW is now after a tasty slice of Tesla's pie. This is the big one for Volkswagen and its ID electric vehicle (EV) lineup. Not literally, you understand, the ID buzz people carrier is bigger. But as the brand's answer to the Tesla Model 3, the new ID Aero will take on a car so popular that it topped the UK sales charts for several months in 2022, despite costing almost £50,000 in its cheapest form. To help with that mission, Volkswagen has paid particular attention to aerodynamics, hence the name of the concept released to show prospective buyers what they can expect. You see, the ease with which an EV can slip through the air has a direct impact on how far it can go on a charge. And the ID Aero is the slipperiest EV that Volkswagen has made so far. As a result, it promises a range of up to 385 miles from its 77 kWh battery. That's farther than any Model 3 can manage and enough to get you from London to Sheffield and back without stopping. A cheaper ID Aero with a 52 kWh battery will also be offered. And while Volkswagen is still to confirm any details about the electric motors that will power the new model, they're with the latter delivering four-wheel drive. ID Aero's wind-cheating contours make it the most aerodynamic car Volkswagen has ever made. Expect the 77 kWh model to have a 170 kilowatts maximum charging rate, at which it can be rapid charged from 10 to 80% battery capacity in around 30 minutes. However, cheaper variants are likely to be limited to 130 kilowatts. The ID Aero was first shown as the ID Vision concept back in 2019. And like a particularly indecisive new parent, Volkswagen will change the name again before sales start, with ID6 and ID7 the current favorites. Whatever it ends up being called, though, it will offer seating for 5 and will feature the improved version of Volkswagen's touchscreen infotainment system that we've experienced in the ID Buzz. Despite the upcoming ban on the sale of new petrol and diesel cars in 2030, the arrival of the ID Aero doesn't mean the end for the Volkswagen's Passat Executive Saloon. Instead, that is expected to continue to be sold in plug-in hybrid form until around 2035. An estate version of the ID Aero, based on 2019's ID Space Vision concept car, is also planned but won't arrive until late 2024. Plus, there will be hot GTX versions of both the saloon and estate to satisfy those who crave the sort of straight-line performance that Tesla has become famous for. Porsche Macan. Best-selling sports SUV will spawn an electric sidekick with 603 brake horsepower at launch. Like a certain sci-fi character whose claim to a PhD is questionable, the Porsche Macan SUV will soon regenerate in its case into a fully electric vehicle, EV. However, unlike Doctor Who, the new Macan will coexist alongside its combustion engine predecessor for a while to ease the transition. Porsche has good reason to play it safe like this, because the current Macan is its best-selling model. But with sales of EVs also booming and many countries planning to ban new petrol and diesel models in the not-too-distant future, it also makes sense to offer a successor that builds on the success of the fully electric Taycan performance car. Not that the electric Macan shares its mechanicals with the Taycan. Instead, it's built on new underpinnings that will also be used by the upcoming Audi Q6 e-tron, due to the fact that Porsche and Audi are both part of the VW group. Where the two will differ, beyond styling, is in the performance they offer. Porsche has said the electric Macan will produce 603 brake horsepower from launch, whereas even the hottest Q6s are expected to top out at around 500 brake horsepower. That said, cheaper and less powerful Macan EVs are expected to follow later. Whichever version you choose, you'll get a 100 kWh battery that should offer a range of around 325 miles. And given that it can charge at a rate of up to 270 kilowatts, a 5 to 80% top-up should take as little as 20 minutes. To help differentiate the electric Macan from the combustion engine model, it will feature a split headlight design and a more heavily raked roofline. Plus, you can expect a significantly higher starting price of around £70,000 compared with £50,800. Volvo EX90. The XC90 luxury SUV is going electric for its next generation, and it's been given a fitting new name, EX90. However, what hasn't changed is Volvo's focus on comfort, safety and practicality. The EX90 will be among just a handful of electric cars with 7 seats. The only version available at launch costs £96,255, but for that you get 51 op and a 373-mile range. Audi Q8 e-tron. The Q8 e-tron has actually been on sale since 2018 but was previously known simply as the Audi e-tron. In addition to the name change, the updated car gets bolder front-end styling and revised suspension that's designed to make it even more comfortable. And while entry-level versions could previously take you only 197 miles on a charge, that figure is now 305 miles. Vauxhall Astra Electric. Vauxhall's latest Astra is already sold in petrol, diesel and hybrid forms, and you'll soon be able to add fully electric power to the list, whether you're interested in the hatchback or the estate. The latter model will have only 2 rivals, the closely related Peugeot 308 SW and the MG5. Polestar 3. The aptly named third model to wear the Polestar badge is related to the Volvo EX90 but trades that car's third row of seats for a sleeker roofline. It's available with 482 brake horsepower or 51 op from launch, but either way you get a 111 kilowatt-hour battery, which gives you up to 379 miles of range and can be charged from 10 to 80% in around 20 minutes. BMW i7. The next BMW 7 Series limousine will be sold as a plug-in hybrid and in fully electric i7 form, with the latter model officially able to travel for up to 388 miles between stops. Options include a 40-speaker Bowers & Wilkins surround sound system and a foldable 31.3 inches theater screen, onto which rear seat passengers can stream films and games while they travel. Smart number 1. Pricing is yet to be revealed, but if Smart gets it right, this small electric SUV will be well worth considering. We've tested it, and it's good to drive, its interior is smart and spacious, and its range is competitive. You even get outrageously quick acceleration if you go for the Brabus version, leaving the number 1's tiny boot as the only thing that really lets the side down. Hyundai IONIQ 6. Saloon follow-up to the IONIQ 5 trades straight lines for curves, with a view towards boosting efficiency. Leonardo DiCaprio uses his movie star looks and the fame that comes with them to raise awareness of environmental causes, at least when he's not flying around the world in private jets. In the same vein, the new IONIQ 6 is intended to emphasize style to tempt buyers into going electric. Not that its sleek lines are purely for show, you see, the IONIQ 6 has been designed to slip through the air as efficiently as possible, with this helping the single-motor, rear-wheel drive version to an official range of up to 382 miles, that beats the equivalent Polestar 2 and Tesla Model 3, which managed 341 miles and 374 miles respectively. A dual-motor, four-wheel drive IONIQ 6 will also be offered, with total power up from 222 brake horsepower to 317 brake horsepower at the expense of 60 miles of range. However, while this should bring impressive performance, it's worth noting that both the Polestar and Tesla are available with more than 400 brake horsepower. Neither of those cars can charge as fast as the IONIQ 6, though. Whichever version you go for, its 77.4 kWh battery can be charged at a rate of up to 350 kilowatts, making a top-up from 10 to 80% possible in around 18 minutes. Inside, meanwhile, the cleanline dashboard features two 12.0 screens that are positioned side by side, with one acting as a driver display and the other taking care of infotainment. The presence of physical shortcut buttons should improve usability compared with rival systems that rely purely on touchscreens. Legroom is plentiful in both the front and rear. However, while headroom is also generous in the front, that curvy roof will cause taller folk to slouch in the back. Lotus Eletre. Sports car specialist broadens its horizons with a Porsche challenging electric SUV. Tech giant Apple wouldn't be anywhere near as big as it is today if it hadn't expanded into smartphones, and Lotus is hoping that its own entry into a booming market will give its fortunes a similar boost. You see, the fully electric Eletre is the brand's first ever SUV. The entry-level version, simply called the Eletre, is set to cost £89,500, placing it in line with Porsche's Taycan Cross Turismo 4S. However, Lotus has given its car 595 brake horsepower to the Taycan's 563 brake horsepower. If that's not enough for you, there's the 120,000-pound Eletre R, which ups the power to 892 brake horsepower and cuts the 0 to 62 miles per hour time from 4.5 seconds to just 2.95 seconds. Meanwhile, the Eletre S combines the power of the entry-level car with a longer list of standard kit. Whichever Eletre you go for, you get a 112 kilowatt-hour battery, which is enough for an official range of 373 miles in the Eletre and Eletre S and 304 miles in the R. Subaru Solterra. Subaru and Toyota have developed cars together before, and that relationship shows no sign of coming to an end. The Solterra is Subaru's version of the Toyota BZ4X. It's handy in tricky conditions, thanks to its standard four-wheel drive system. However, unlike the BZ4X, there's no cheaper two-wheel drive version, so the Solterra starts at a pricier £49,995. Tesla Model S. First introduced to the UK in 2014, the Model S luxury car will benefit from a big interior update when the facelift version goes on sale. Most obviously, the portrait-orientated touchscreen that were used has been ditched in favor of a 17.0 landscape unit. The other big news is the arrival of a 1006 brake horsepower Plaid variant, which can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 1.99 seconds. Hyundai IONIQ 7. This large SUV is powered by a 73 kilowatt-hour battery, which should give it a range of more than 300 miles, making the Hyundai IONIQ 7 competitive with rivals. The concept, showcased future self-driving technology, with front seats that can swivel around to face those in the rear when the car is driving itself, but don't hold your breath for that tech to hit the showrooms. CUPRA Tavascan. Set to join the brilliant born in the electric car lineup of CUPRA Seat's performance division is the sporty Tavascan Coupe SUV. An expected starting price of around £60,000 would see it undercut premium rivals such as the Audi Q8 Sportback e-tron and Jaguar One-Pace. However, while its predicted range of 279 miles is respectable, it's not class-leading. Mercedes-Benz EQE SUV. Yes, there's already a car called the Mercedes-Benz EQE, but while that model is an executive saloon, this one is an SUV, obviously. It will have a similarly high-tech interior to its siblings, though, and it promises a range of up to 366 miles between charges. Audi Q6 e-tron. Non-identical twin to the electric Porsche Macan will take on the BMW 9/3. Sharing is caring in the car world, but while you've already read about the upcoming electric Porsche Macan, which is being developed alongside the Audi Q6 e-tron, there's still lots to separate these two electric SUVs. Chief among the differences is how they'll look. because while the electric Macan will get sporty styling to underline its high-performance credentials, the Q6 e-tron is rather more restrained. Expect to see a smaller front grille than we've come to expect from Audi, plus slim LED headlights, steeply raked windscreen pillars and the brand's signature haunches over the wheels. The Q6 will also come with a wider range of power outputs than the Macan, although the latter will have more muscle in its range-topping form. Plus, unlike the Macan, the Q6 e-tron will be offered in single-motor, two-wheel drive form as well as with dual motors and four-wheel drive. The two cars will, however, share a 10 kWh battery, and every Q6 should be capable of at least 300 miles on a charge. That's farther than the rival BMW 9/3 and Jaguar 1 Pace can officially take you. What's more, like the Macan, the Q6 will make use of ultra-rapid charging technology. A top-up from 5 to 80% could take as little as 25 minutes. Inside, as with the larger Q8 e-tron, most functions will be controlled through two touchscreens on the dashboard, with a third screen acting as a highly configurable digital instrument cluster. Being larger than the Q4 e-tron, the Q6 is expected to offer more space for 5 and their luggage. The Q6 e-tron will be close to the 9/3 and 1 Pace on price, starting at around £60,000, and cheaper than the Macan. And as with most Audi SUVs, a coupe-like version, called the Q6 Sportback e-tron, will follow. Lexus RZ. The Lexus RZ is the Japanese premium brand's first bespoke electric car, and while its 536 brake horsepower output and 250-mile range are both talking points, the biggest one is the option of a yoke-style steering wheel. This is something Lexus expects a quarter of buyers to go for and which, it says, offers more direct feedback than conventional steering wheels. Abarth 500e. As one of the first fully electric hot hatches, the Abarth 500e could be a game-changer. The instantaneous power that comes with electric power should make it suitably lively, and there are no exhaust emissions to feel guilty about. Just bear in mind that while the battery is the same 42 kWh unit used by pricier versions of the Fiat 500, the Abarth's extra pace will hurt range. Kia EV9. Flagship electric SUV finds its basis in the award-winning EV6 but adds 2 extra seats and squared-off style. Go big or go home isn't just a motivational phrase that you might hear shouted across football fields or gyms, it also aptly describes the new EV9. You see, Kia has already had plenty of success with electric SUVs, even winning our overall Car of the Year award with the electric EV6. The South Korean brand certainly isn't about to go home, then, and is instead readying its biggest car yet. The EV9 is likely to be similar to the hefty BMW 9 and latest Range Rover in terms of size. So far, we've only seen it in concept form, but the design isn't expected to change all that much on the road to production. Thin LED lights will feature on the front, flanking a closed-off front grille. Meanwhile, thick body cladding will trail the EV9's lower edges, emphasizing its size and SUV character. Only the cameras, which replaced conventional door mirrors on either side of the EV9 concept, will be dropped. The EV9 uses a stretched version of the EV6 underpinnings, but it'll have a 10 kWh battery in place of that car's 77.4 kWh unit. As a result, we expect the EV9 to at least match the EV6's official range of up to 328 miles, despite being a bigger, heavier car. As is the case with the EV6, buyers will be able to choose between rear-wheel drive versions with a single electric motor, and models with 2 motors for 4-wheel drive. When it comes to charging, the EV9 should be able to take on power at a rate of up to 239 kilowatts, meaning a 10 to 80% top-up can be completed in the time it takes to grab a coffee and visit the toilet. However, until the UK has more chargers that can deliver juice at that rate, most stops will take longer. Inside, there will be seating for up to 7, and while we're yet to inspect the production car, the concept featured a combined digital driver's display and infotainment screen measuring 27.0 inches. It's expected that owners will be able to add new functions, for example, the latest semi-autonomous driving systems, at a later date. without having to visit a Kia dealership. This is made possible by over-the-air software updates via the EV9's infotainment system. EV9 prices are yet to be confirmed, but as the flagship of the Kia range in the UK, it's expected to start at around £65,000. Even at that price, however, the EV9 will be a relative bargain next to most electric luxury SUVs. Jeep Avenger. While the Jeep Avenger is the first all-electric model from the US brand, under the skin it has a lot in common with some other electric SUVs, including the DS3 Crossback E-Tense and the Peugeot E2008. Power comes from a 154 brake horsepower electric motor, which draws its energy from a 51 kilowatt-hours, usable capacity, battery that provides an official range of up to 248 miles. Honda HR-V Electric. Previewed at the 2022 New York Motor Show by the Honda e-NYL concept, this electric version of the HR-V small SUV is just the first of 30 new EVs that Honda plans to launch before 2030, encompassing everything from hatchbacks to sports cars. Power for the new model will be supplied by a 70 kilowatt-hour battery, allowing it to travel for around 300 miles between charges. Fisker Ocean. You might not have heard of Fisker before, but the Ocean's headline statistics are enough to make you stop and take notice. First up is its range, as much as 390 miles on a charge. And then there's its performance, with even the entry-level, single-motor version getting from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 6.6 seconds. As for the dual-motor model, this can cover the same sprint in just 3.3 seconds. Volkswagen ID.3. The facelift of the ID.3 was originally planned for 2024, but it's been brought forward by a year in order to more quickly address issues raised by customers. Specifically, Volkswagen will focus on improving interior quality and will swap the fiddly, touch-sensitive steering wheel controls for conventional buttons. Styling changes are likely to be limited to new bumpers and alloy wheels. Rolls-Royce Spectre. The first electric Rolls-Royce is a two-door coupe that will be positioned above the conventionally powered Wraith in the company's range. That means a likely starting price of around £275,000, although most buyers will probably spend the same again on options, including the Starlight doors, on which 5876 LEDs create the effect of a starfield at night. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos. Bye.